Okay, so we are going to be recording tonight's meeting for anybody who isn't able to make it, for any teams that don't have their team parent or safety officer here tonight. It'll be recorded for posterity and for to refer back to. Also, everything that I go over in this presentation, in the team parent portion of the presentation, you'll be able to find in a team parent packet that is on our website. And I'm actually going to put the link for that in the chat. Um, uh, yes, I will, if I can find where yes, not everybody in the waiting room, just everybody in the meeting. Okay, so I just put a link in the chat to the team parent handbook. Surprise, surprise! I updated it from yesterday to today. There's new information, so that will be updated there at the link. So you can go to our website to find all the information we cover here. Will be included in that packet. Also, if you have questions throughout this presentation, we encourage you to put those in the chat. So if you have a question, chances are other people on the call have a question. So we're going to try and monitor and get to those questions all together. Okay, still admitting. And yeah, if you have any questions. And just so that we get an idea of who is here tonight, I'm going to run a little poll to keep us awake and engaged in our meeting and see who we have. So the question is, how many years has your family been involved with Little League? So you can answer it's our first year, 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, 7 to 10, 11 to 14, or 15 plus years. It's actually very possible for folks that have been around for generations of children that have lots of different age children spread out to have been participating for that many years. Okay, we got 37 people on the call, 24 people responding, 25, 26. Okay, and maybe some folks are off getting dinner too. So, okay, I'm gonna give 5 more seconds for the poll. Oh, and it looks like if you can't answer in the poll, you can put that in the chat. 4th year, Melanie says, okay, so I'm going to share the results. Okay, look at that. We have a very interesting spread. We have and 2 more votes for 4 years. So we have a pretty even spread of people who have lots of who have experience, and there's 5 people whose it's your first year with Little League. So welcome and congratulations. For those of us that have been around the league from a number of years, well, it's not going to look the same. So we're going to talk about in our presentations what's different about this year than years previous in the team parent and the safety officer roles. And for those of you who are new, welcome, and we're excited to have you here. Okay, so if you're on the call, we are all officially volunteers, and if you haven't already, we all are going to be subject to a background check. So in the team parent packet, there's an embedded link to the application for volunteers, and that application would be submitted to the president and to Ken, who's on this call, VP Operations. And right, Ken? Yes, I'm just going to say yes.
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 Sorry, I was muted.
Nope, that's okay. And in this year, the background check, you'll get a trigger. You'll get an email from a third party that will ask for you to fill out an online questionnaire. In years past, we've had to get fingerprinted. We do not have to get fingerprinted this year. However, there is a mandated reporter training online, and so we will be sending that link out to the volunteers. We're just figuring it out ourselves of how to get that certificate. It's essentially an awareness, a child abuse awareness training. It says that it's a 2-hour training. I did it today. It takes about 45 minutes to fill out, and you'll send your certificate in to the VP operations. Actually, Sherry, do you need that certificate for safety?
If you shoot it to Ken or I, we'll consolidate and I'll send mine to Ken.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So, okay, moving on. Um, so again, I mentioned if you're on this call, it means you're part of the village. I'm gonna go over the team parent responsibilities specifically, but this also applies just for safety officers too. Just everybody pitches in and helps out. For team parents, mainly your responsibilities are to communicate key information to your team, to the parents and of your players. Help managers delegate tasks. There's going to be a lot to do this season, lots of places where we could use helping hands. And so consider yourself a team with your safety officer and your manager and coaches to get tasks done, delegate, find people who can do certain tasks. And you're not the team grunt. You're helping to keep things rolling. Um, you're going to want to orient families to the Game Changer app. The app this season is going to be particularly important because in years past it's been just a collaboration tool for teams, but this year it's going to be where people have to answer their health screening. So if you have folks, maybe there's grandparents or oops, okay, more people, maybe there's grandparents or folks that just are not tech savvy or friendly, or not app friendly. It's a good idea to just check in with those folks and see if they need any help, just learning how to click through the buttons. There's a lot of cool functions on there in Game Changer to do group chats, to see your games, to put the players numbers on there, or their pictures, so we get to recognize faces. But the most important thing is the health screening, which is going to be a requirement this year before each practicing game. You're also going to promote fundraisers. The Snack Shack is not going to be available this year, which is a huge revenue draw for the league. And so we really are going to depend on promoting the other fundraising opportunities. Some of those, there's going to be, I'll talk a little bit about the hit-a-thon. For those that are new, the hit-a-thon is like, imagine at school, your readathon. Players will get sponsors from friends and family, and it culminates in a day that they do a hitting competition and for prizes. So that's a fundraiser that we want to promote. And then we've seen a couple of the Dining for Dollars events, and when that happens, it's great to remind folks, texting over the app. Remember, go get your pizza at Mountain Mike's tonight, and mention Capitola SoCal Little League. We'll spend some time tonight talking about spiritware and souvenirs. And we will also talk about, very important, scorekeeping and pitch count. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight and some of the responsibilities we can expect from team parents. Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. The league this year is going to provide jerseys, hats, and gaiters. Parents are essentially going to provide everything else. If parents still have not acquired the pants, belt, socks, undershirts, helmet, and bat, the Play It Again Sports has been a long time preferred vendor. We've had a relationship with the league. This year we don't have vouchers like we've had in previous years, so parents can always get their uniforms in different spots. Okay, interesting. We got a question, and I'll answer that in a little bit. And then, let people know about Play It Again Sports if they don't already know that, local vendor in SoCal. Okay. So there's a question about, Aptos Little League has the Snack Shack running this year. Why not us? Because of, at this point, the COVID protocols and the league had, our league, all the leagues have a little bit of a different flair, let's say. And our guiding principles are that we're using the guidelines, the public health guidelines, to guide our decision making. So this year, it's going to be a lot of bring your own, and that includes water and snacks for players. Now, all of us on this call are parents, and I know that many of us have been in need of a cheese stick blow dart with when we get hangry players. So make sure that that all parents remind them. Remember to bring a snack. Definitely bring water to keep kids hydrated, keep our players hydrated. That also goes for spectators. Spectators are going to have to bring their own chairs, as well as their own provisions. We don't want grandma and grandpa rolling up to the game thinking that they'll be able to sit in the bleachers, and there'll be designated areas where they can, but they'll have to bring their own, camping chair or some sort of picnic setup, or expect that. So we want to orient people before they come to the games what to expect. Okay. What's next here? Okay, so when we talk about the bleachers are dedicated for players and team staff to socially distance. The dugout is because players cannot socially distance within the dugout. The dugout essentially is going to be like that's going to be where batters are in the hole, and there is space enough for 2 to 3 players in the dugout while as part of the rotation, and we are really going to need help from parents to keep the players in the stand. We've had a couple of weeks now to see what this test run and see what this is going to look like. And, it's a little chaotic. So we could use parents, somebody camped out at the bleachers, somebody camped out at the dugout to help with the lineup and help get batters on deck. So that is the reason for people being the players being in the bleachers. It's also going to be really helpful. A role that team parents can play is to gauge amongst your team if anybody has canopy tents to set up over the bleachers. I work in agriculture, so I'm a bit passionate about this. Over 80 degrees is a threshold for potential heat stress, and so if you have folks that have the canopy tents, water, shade, and rest are going to keep our players nice, well-oiled machines for their games. We don't want them being wilting in the stands. So that is something you can ask of parents, to a way that people can help out. Okay. And there is a question about, the dugout being an open air space. The dugout itself, and there really is no difference between for the guidelines in terms of social distancing. It's 6 feet of social distancing, and so that's why even having 2 to 3 players in the dugout will also help players social distance on the bleachers. So that's the guideline. Spectators had a nice animated discussion about spectators, and Sherry's actually in her portion of the presentation is going to share the aerial map of the fields and show where those designated areas are where spectators can be. Because of the COVID protocols, we want to make sure that the areas around the bleachers stay designated for players so that they can social and the team staff can use that space and walk through that space. Which means if we have parents or spectators that are getting camping chairs and posting up right next to the bleachers, it just sends a signal to everybody that the open space is free game. There's designated areas where the spectators are going to be allowed to sit, and so I came up with a little, what is this, a mnemonic device? It's called I'll Be Damned. And it means that I will be in a designated area, masked and distanced. We want to try, there's no way that we as volunteers can police the all the spectators that come. It's not our job. We're not public health officers. However, it is incumbent upon us to just let people know in a friendly way. We're so glad you came to the game. We really appreciate it. We got your designated areas in this area in a way that invites people to do the right thing and to help us all out so that we can make sure that we're following our safety protocols. So remember, all be damned. Designated areas, masked and distanced. And to promote that maybe not everybody has to come to the game, and we're working right now as we speak on reconnecting the live streaming. I thought when this happened a few years ago, I was like, this is a really fancy pants league that they can, live stream the games. And we've got amazing feedback from grandparents who live across the country or in other countries. We were able to be at a game one time, and we were like, let's see how the Giants are doing. Let's turn on the game. And because we were out of town, and it's just really cool that that's an option. So we're getting that set up, and that's another way also to relieve the congestion at the fields. Okay. Okay, great. Sherry, thank you, Sherry. Sherry's answering some of your questions in the chat about the different guidelines, and we'll go deeper into that in her presentation. Um, or anybody, does somebody want to jump in? I heard somebody go off mute. Nope. Okay. Um, so also, if anybody on this call has any expertise in doing some type of newsletter layout or yearbook, we would love to have you help out. We are going to make a yearbook happen, and in order to do that, we need to take photos and also take short videos. So we have a couple of examples here. We're going to have team pictures in a few weeks. I'll mention that in a little bit as well. But these candids where kids are in action shots or doing group stuff is really fun for the kids. So ask permission or ask parents if they prefer that certain players not be photographed. And if that's the case, then we will not. Then that they don't need to be photographed, or they don't need to be included. But it's a good idea, just a good practice to ask if it's okay to take photographs. Um, and at some point during the season, you'll be prompted to upload your top 20 for a yearbook. So start taking those now. It's really fun to see the progression too of the white pants going to salmon colored pants as the season rolls on. Okay. Um, I should ask if there's any more. There's very post. Okay, so Sherry's still answering questions about the guidelines in the chat. Can you turn on that light, please, Martin? Oh, not the fan, the light. Thank you. Okay. So I'm on the meeting. So, okay, I'm going to try and go through this pretty quickly. The team parents can also help with putting together banners, spiritware, and souvenirs. In the parent packet, I have a couple of links to some of the different uh, uh, vendors throughout, either locally or online, that do these that sell this type of stuff. I put dollar signs here because this is going to be something that your team will get. This is totally optional, so it's the type of thing that people like to do, but it's a good practice to pool the parents' money and say, okay, we're going to buy the banner. If people want to buy a sweatshirt or a practice jersey, here on this slide, we decided one year to do a ball display. And so these are some of the places where you can get, Banners USA on Facebook has a promo code that gives you $20 off. And they have these cool banners like the one you see here. They're pendant style banners. And you could put the kids' names and numbers on them. And then that also could double as your end of season souvenir. So that's pretty cool. Sport About has a whole team parent manual on their pricing, their apparel, all that stuff. Close the door, please. Um, and we got our kids coming back from the game. And then, so Sportabout is a local preferred vendor that the league has worked with over many years. There's also one in Capitola called Custom Culture that we've just discovered. And Crown Awards is where you can get all kinds of different swag, plaques. If the closest you're going to get to politics in, besides COVID regulations, the closest you're going to get to politics in baseball is talking participation trophies. So think about different ways that your team can celebrate, add some spirit to your team, and celebrate the kids. Okay. I got a bunch of emails or a bunch of inquiries about that in particular. So if there's more questions, I'm always available. Okay, game day and team responsibilities. This is an important component. It's a required component, and team parents can help to coordinate a schedule and find out amongst your team who on your team has some capabilities of who's been scorekeeping before. So if you are the home team, excuse me. Can you close that? Can you close that door? Thank you. If you are the home team, you're going to be along the third baseline, and you're going to be responsible for field prep and scorekeeping if you're in divisions AA on up to intermediate. And there's a link in the packet that shows videos that directs you to videos. There are 4 different videos on the there's 4 different videos for scorekeeping and pitch count on the CSL website. So if you don't have anybody on your team that can scorekeep or that has score kept before, then that's a place to refer to engage a parent to become a quick study. There does need to be an official scorekeeping log that goes into the official log. Visitors that are along the first baseline are in charge of pitch count. Again, that's for divisions AA on up to intermediate. Visitors are also in charge of announcing and running the scoreboard. And then if you are the last team during the week, or if you're playing a game during the week, or if you're the last team on Saturday, you're in charge of breaking down the field. So getting all the plates and pitching mound back in. And I don't think I mentioned, home team is in charge of field prep. So in the Game Changer app, when you have your schedule, the at team is the home team. If it's Yankees at Reds, Reds is the home team, Yankees are the visitors. So there's also a function on the Game Changer app to do scorekeeping, but you'd have to figure out a way to eventually get that record printed and into the log. So that's the one disadvantage of doing it on the Game Changer app, is somehow getting it printed, which makes the game official. If we don't do this, if we don't engage in this, it means that the game gets forfeited for whoever is not keeping up their end of the bargain. So if you don't have a scorekeeper, it's good to reach out to the other team, or try and find and create a schedule around scorekeeping and pitch count based on when your game is. Okay, and that's specifically for the AA up to intermediate divisions. So
let me butt in real quick here, Joy.
Sure.
So just to capitalize on this, there is an official scorebook for each division in the score sheds for the upper divisions, meaning AA through intermediate. You have to keep the score in that book, whether you keep it on Game Changer or not. You have to keep that book up, because that book is available to all the teams to verify that people are getting rotation and pitch counts and everything else. Along with the scorebook, there's the official logbook for the pitch count, and that needs to be on site. So whether you do it on Game Changer or not, those 2 books have to be filled out. It's all yours.
Okay, awesome. And then with pitch count, Sherry, I don't know if you're going to go into the whole pitch, oops, sorry, I'm going to admit somebody. Um, pitch count, what pitch count is keeping track of the pitch of the number of time a pitcher pitches, and depending on their age, they get a certain number of throws, and once they reach that number of pitches, depending on their age, they have a certain amount of time that they have to rest, and that's really to prevent injuries, Tommy John injuries, and that type of thing. So both of those things are important components of game day responsibilities. And again, team parents can help gauge who's capable of doing it, and who's going to be at the games, who's available to do it. For everybody, including the safety officers, there is a first aid kit, an AED, and the bathroom keys are in the closet next to the snack shack. There's actually a code. It's a very complicated code. It's 1234. And so if you're part of doing breakdown, know that the bathroom keys, our bathrooms at the fields get janitorial service twice a week, and we want to make sure that they stay in good condition, good working order between janitorial service. We also know that we have a lot of homeless or transient folks that ambulate around the park. So we definitely need to make sure that we lock up the bathrooms as part of the breakdown when we're the last game on Saturday, or if we have a game during the week.
And to add to that, make sure all the sheds are locked.
Great.
We had a problem last year where we had a couple of homeless people take up residence doing drugs inside of the scorekeeper sheds, and it cost our league a lot of money because we had to bring professional people in to clean it,
Oof,
to render it safe. So we need to make sure these doors are locked at the end of your games.
Yeah, and that's why I say at some point we're all probably we're all gonna call Ken. So make sure you have his number on speed dial, to if there's any question about locking up all the sheds, making sure bathrooms are locked. If there's any question, bring it to somebody's attention, and somebody on the board especially, and we'll try and work together. Okay, and then just sharing some upcoming dates. One of the things that I really appreciated about being the team parent was getting information hot off the press and just knowing what was going on and being able to share it with everybody. So we have opening day games are this Saturday. We're unfortunately not going to be able to have the parade. We're just going to launch right into games. Tentatively, I put these dates on here because, again, I want you to have information, even if it's preliminary. Tentatively, we're looking at Picture Day for April 25th, and you'll get more details. I'm going to create a team parent distribution list so that, and I want to make sure that when I send out blasts that you're able to get them. So I'll probably be checking in with the team parents just to make sure that we got, open lines of communication. So we're looking at, so Picture Day is a day where everybody comes in their uniform, teams line up, take their team picture, and they also take their individual picture. So we have a photographer that will be set up on April 25th, and we'll share that schedule. But it's good to let people know if so that if they are have some commitment that day, they might be able to squeeze in being able to get to the team picture at a certain time. So we'll share that schedule. Tentative, and that's a tentative date. Also tentatively, we're looking at May 2nd for the Hit-a-thon. That is that fundraiser that I mentioned. There you'll get more information. There's a 99 Pledges online platform to help people do the fundraising, and so it's the type of thing you can share the link and raise funds, raise pledges that way. And then June 12th is our closing day. There may be other, if there may be other dates here, but I wanted to give people just some of the tentative dates that we have. Okay, great. And questions. That's actually a prompt. If you have a question, then I'll share my information. But right now, I just want to actually share. I want to do a poll, make sure we're all still sprightly and awake. Um, it's a bit of a quiz. So, team parent responsibilities include making sure all players are dressed and fed, dumping Gatorade on your managers and coaches when you win the game, helping managers to communicate and delegate tasks, or paying for all the team swag during the season. Let's see. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we have some folks that are obviously managers on the team that really want Gatorade dumped on them. But yes, helping managers communicate, and delegate tasks. You can dump Gatorade on, on your managers and coaches after the winning game. It's been done before. um, and then one more poll. Okay, which of the following statements is true? Home team does field. You may have to. You may have to drag your window open to see all these. But which of the following statements is true? Home team does field setup and scorekeeping. Visitors do pitch count, field breakdown, and lock bathrooms. First aid supplies, AED, and bathroom key are in the closet at the side of the snack shack. Bleachers are exclusively for players and team staff. And the season mantra is all be damned, designated areas, masks, and distanced. And lo and behold, everybody got it right. Congratulations. Um, it's going to be it. I'm so proud of this group. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. I'm Joy. You can contact me by email at team-parent-coordinator@CSLLbaseball.com. Texting or calling my cell definitely captures my attention quickly. And then the download section of the website is the Team Parent Handbook. If you have other questions that weren't answered tonight, or if you want to review the links and see all the resources that I shared with you tonight. So I'm gonna stop share. Okay.
Joy, I see a question in the chat from Kate.
Okay.
It says, if we are the first game of the day, we open up and set up. And if we are the last game of the day, we break down and lock up. Or we do that for every game, regardless of timing.
Great question. No, the answer is if you're the first team, then you set up, and if you're the last team, you break down. You don't break down immediately after. If you're the first team, you don't break down immediately after your game. So you'll if there's on Saturdays, if you're the first team, there'll be teams lined up all day long, and so yeah, good question. Sherry, did you
Awesome.
did you see any other questions, and or I saw you having exchanges? Were there
No,
any?
I think I was able to. Nope, I think I was able to answer all the questions. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the safety.
Awesome. Please
Hang on.
do.
If we can't make a game as a team parent, do we need to ask another parent to do anything?
No.
No, yeah, you don't. Yeah. I mean, if it's you can help your manager and safety officer and coaches and the team parent. If you guys create like schedules, that would help tremendously at the beginning of the year to even know who you have on deck for, especially for the scorekeeping. And if you have enough people on your team who can do that, then you could probably do it on the fly. I have at one point in time, we considered our team, we didn't have a whole lot of scorekeepers. So we considered hiring a teenager who was like an older sibling. And we said, maybe we'll pay him like $15 a game so that they'll do the scorekeeping, because we were really intimidated by it. There's different ways of organizing it, but no, you don't have to, team parents do not have to be at every game. If there is some type of responsibility that you're designated at a certain game and you can't make it, then, just talk to your parents, but it's not a requirement. Yeah. Did that get everybody's questions answered?
Kate, I'll just answer your question. Kate has a quick question. What about for safety officer? I'm also an assistant coach for my son's T-ball. I think, so if there's a conflicting game, if as a safety officer, if you can't be at the game, I would just communicate that with your manager. They typically have 1, 2, 3 additional coaches. So just put them on notice, let them know that you won't be there, and they can pick up the slack in your absence.
So let me jump in right here for a quick minute. We do want the safety officer as much as possible. Nobody's going to make every game. The one thing you do have to remember is not only does your team have a safety officer, but so does the other team. Our bigger concern is if somebody gets hurt, to make sure that your safety officer is filling out the right paperwork and sending it in. Sherry does a big follow-up to make sure that the league can step in and help out if there's an issue or whatever, make sure the kid's safety or the coach's safety. We've actually had a bunch of coaches get hit this year pretty hard. And it's just a good follow-up to check and make sure everybody's okay. So not everybody's going to make every game. So team parent-wise, your job is to help the manager just distribute information. If you don't make the game, you're not going to make the game.
Yeah. And since we know which team we're playing against, you can also reach out to the other team. The other team we have a good chance of somebody at the game being able to cover a safety officer issue if we between the two teams. So if you know, if somebody knows, a manager, somebody knows, ooh, we don't have any of our CPR certified people here, talk to the other team, because they might.
And just so everybody knows, all the managers have already attended the safety meeting, so they're up to speed on what the requirements are and what their needs are. So just stay in communication is what I would say. Yeah. But I'll go ahead. Can I screen share, Joy?
Actually, super quick. Do you mind if I think there were
I'm sorry.
There were a bunch of folks that came late. I wanted to be able to get folks. But I think well, never mind. Go ahead, Sherry. There's a caption contest, and so in the chat, imagine a kid face planting on a baseball, face planting into a base. See, I told you I don't know anything about baseball. Kid face planting into a base. Put your caption. If you've arrived late, put a caption to that in the chat, and you are eligible for a $10 Yogurtland gift card at the end. Take it away, Sherry.
Cool. Thanks, Joy. So let's see if I can pull it together here. Okay. How's that? Can you see it?
Yep.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Joy, for that. That was awesome. And Joy, I've been on several teams with Joy now, and she's pretty much a rock star when it comes to being team mom. So she's a great resource for all of you. So I'm going to jump into safety, and we'll touch a little bit on just general baseball safety, but we'll also go into obviously COVID and how that has changed some of our safety protocols for this season. I'll take about 15 minutes, and then at the end, I'll answer questions, but feel free to put some questions in the chat, and I can circle back to those when we are done. Just to tag on to what Joy had said, thank you to all the volunteers. I know it's a lot to juggle between having your kids just as a player, getting them to practices and games, but then to volunteer to be a team parent or a safety officer. We just really appreciate everyone's time that they're putting into the league this year. My name's Sherry, for those of you that joined in late. Sherry Bowles, I am your safety officer for Capitola SoCal this year. If you want to grab a snapshot, take a picture of this, plug me into your cell phone, feel free to reach out at any point. There are some times where I need you to reach out to me in regards to injuries, but if you have questions, concerns, things that you're seeing during your practices or games that might be concerning to you and you have questions about, shoot me a text, call me, email me. I'm always available. CPR and AED training. Our requirement for the league is that one adult, a coach, a manager, or a safety officer, someone who generally is going to be there for the majority of games, needs to have their CPR certification. And we want you to have the CPR that has AED training as well. If there is nobody on your team, such as a coach or manager, who has a certification, the league will cover a class for you. And I can reach out to those people individually because I have an ongoing list of cards that I've already received, and I've actually been in touch with some of you who do need the class. We do our class at Above Bar CPR that's located in Aptos, and it's where we've gone for the last few years. So if you've been with the league and you've participated, you'll be familiar with that. We do have an AED available on site next to the snack shack. There is a closet there, and like Joy had mentioned, the code is easy to remember. It's 1234, but it does generally remain locked. And AED is located in there, as well as additional supplies like ice packs, things like that. If you do have a CPR card and you are a safety officer for your team, please email those to me at safety-officer@cslllbaseball.com. Safety supplies. So all of your managers have already picked up their equipment. And when they picked up their equipment, they also got little backpacks that have safety supplies. It has hand sanitizer, masks, wipes. They got first aid kits with ice packs. And if you need any replenishing of those supplies, please reach out to me and I'm happy to provide more to you. We have lots of hand sanitizer, lots of wipes, and I know Ken got a lot of ice packs this year.
Yeah, so if your team is running short of ice packs because you've used them, in the AED shed, there is 2 cases of ice packs. Grab 1 or 2 if you need them. They're available.
And sometimes that's all it takes is an ice pack to calm down a player who maybe got a lump or bump. So we'll jump into field and equipment safety. Team parents, safety officers, work with your managers and coaches. First thing they're going to do is inspect their fields before games and practices, looking for any hazards, debris, leftover equipment that's there in the field, anything that might get in the way of players, coaches, or umpires during a game. L screens. So Ken had mentioned that we had a coach who was injured recently, and he was throwing batting practice to some of the bigger kids and wasn't using one of these L screens that you see here. And so Ken has taken one down to Monterey Park and chained it to the fence. And I think any of those managers who need access to that already have the code. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, it's just a standard code to get into any of the sheds. It's a 4263 code. All of our locks are combination padlocks. There's no keys.
Helmet. So obviously helmets are going to be required when these kiddos are out there batting. We want to make sure that this year in particular that we're not sharing equipment. If you have a player who has a need, equipment that if they don't have their own helmet, for example, you can work with our equipment manager, who's Grant Bowles, and he can work with you to check something out for the season. Your manager may already have extra equipment for them, so check with them too.
So
if the kiddos have helmets.
Let's comment on that just real quick.
Go ahead, Ken.
We really encourage every player to purchase their own helmet, batting helmet, for the simple fact that we don't want kids to share Helmets. We do have helmets if they need them. Play It Again Sport usually has a bunch of used helmets that you guys can purchase, or you can buy brand new. And the one tactic we use to get people to buy them is the threat of lice. So if we do end up sharing there, you do have a possibility of getting lice. So if you have your own helmet, your kid's the only one allowed to use it. So if we can, try to encourage your parents to buy helmets.
Yes.
Back to you.
Yes. Also, we want to make sure that the helmets that the kids are wearing are, if they're modified at all, we want to make sure that those modifications came with the helmet from the manufacturer. We just want to make sure that the helmets are not modified in a way, sometimes with a chin guard or something that's aftermarket that may pose a hazard to these kids. Bats, I know that the umpires will be inspecting bats and helmets before each game, and Little League International has a list of approved bats. And if you go to the website for Cap SoCal Little League, there is bat information there. And just a reminder also, no kids, as a team parent or a safety officer, if you're helping to wrangle kids, whether it's from the bleachers into the dugout, we want to ensure that none of these players have bats in their hands while they are in the bleachers or even while they're in the dugout, right? We should have a spot where the bats are. If they're going up to bat or they're on deck, they can grab their bat, but we want to prevent any type of injuries with a bat. I always have to share this picture. This is my nephew, Ryan, who was hit in the face with a bat by his brother. But just to show you, the damage and the extent of injury that could occur due to using a bat in an unsafe way. We want to make sure that anytime these kids are in a batting cage, that there is adult supervision happening. Everyone has a helmet on, and one batter, one pitcher allowed in the cage. We don't want a bunch of kids clumped up in there trying to be cute. Someone accidentally, swings the bat and injures somebody.
Hey,
Ken,
Sherry.
anything you want to add about that? Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say to bats is when Sherry said about approved bats, Little League International has a bat policy. Your bat has to be labeled with the words USA on it. Do not get confused with USSAA. That is girls softball. They are not legal bats for Little League International. So they need to state USA on it. If you guys have any issues, you guys can give me a call. I'll be glad to answer the questions. They're pretty simple. You'll see it. It's a big sticker. It's usually on the shank somewhere. Okay.
Joy, did you have a question?
Oh, I was going to say, Kate was wondering if parents are helping with lineup and moving from bleachers to dugout, why wouldn't they be able to help wipe down the bats with Clorox wipes?
Yeah, so you could. There's wipes available. Are you talking about the parent wiping bats down?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the parent can definitely do that. There's wipes available in the little backpacks that the coaches have.
So that would allow us to
But we're
share
talking
back
about
with little guys?
Yeah, so the main thing about sharing something like a ball or a bat, right? All these kids are touching the same ball. If they're doing their hand sanitizer and maintaining their hand hygiene, wiping bats down, that shouldn't be a problem. Where we want to encourage limited use of sharing equipment. I think helmets in particular, because they're going on our face, they're a little bit harder to clean the inside. Something like a bat, if it's being shared, wipe it down, get your hand sanitizer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to add one other thing. Oh, you got it right here. Go. Sorry.
That's right. Catchers. So we want to make sure that all these catchers are wearing their proper attire at all times. This is when they're playing. This is when they're warming up pitchers. You will not see coaches warming up pitchers. And so we want to make sure the catchers have their full helmet, mask, throat protectors, They're chest protectors, shin guards, and then we're encouraging all the upper divisions to have catcher's mitts as well. Ken, did you have something?
I do want to add to this. So, and I did notify all the T-ball managers, single A managers. This year, that you do have catcher's gear in your bag. We will not be using the catcher's gear this year in single A and T-ball. No catchers are needed. There's no reason for it. And for safety, we're not going to do it. For the upper divisions, AA, AAA, majors, and 50, 70 intermediate. Most of the catchers are already pre-designated by their coaches because most of them have their own gear. If they don't have gear, they need to talk to their coach, and the coach will talk with Grant, our equipment manager, and we will assign individual gear to catchers that they will use for the season. We are not sharing catcher's gear. Okay, Sherry.
Thanks, Ken. Pitchers. So this was directed more towards managers and coaches, but just a reminder that we want to watch for overuse injuries, especially in pitchers. I know a lot of these kiddos are playing not only Capsule Cal Little League, but they're playing travel teams, and they may be playing year-round leagues. So listen to your players when they're complaining of arm fatigue or pain. Pitch counts. Joy had touched on that, and that's one way that Little League International is able to help to protect our pitchers and allow them to have a longer career than just Little League. So for AA and up, we do pitch counts every game. Those binders with those pitch count forms are kept in the scorekeeper shed. And like Ken had mentioned earlier, once those are filled out for each game, they need to stay in the binder. Myself or somebody else from the board will be coming through and doing periodic audits and making sure that kiddos are getting their appropriate required rest days in between games based on the number of pitches that they have thrown. So those are really important forms. And I'll tell you, it's easier than scorekeeping. So as a team parent or even a safety officer, to be able to do that for your managers is a nice thing, and it's not too bad, not too intimidating. Little League International puts out the recommended maximum number of pitches based on a player's age, and then they also require a certain number of days of rest based on number of pitches thrown in a game. So this is a snip from their website. And are these two, I know these numbers are on the back of a pitch count form, but are they also posted to our website, Ken?
They are in the website. And the managers also have it in their binders. And just to make sure everybody is clear, the managers know this, that when it says 4 days of rest or 3 days of rest, that day begins the next day after the game. It's not a running clock. It is an actual day. So if you played on Saturday and you're on a 4-day rest, that pitcher, because he threw max pitches, he's off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. He can't throw until Thursday. So it's the only way we can protect the kids from throwing their arms out.
And there is, for any managers that are on the team, managers, I'm pretty sure, have an upgraded version of the Game Changer app, and there is pitch count. There is also a pitch count function on the Game Changer app where you can, where you can choose. It'll upload it if it knows you're playing another team. It'll upload all the kids' names from the other team as well. So there's some functionality there that folks might want to look into.
But this score sheet that's right in front of you right now has to be filled out at the game.
Mm-hmm.
So this pitch count log,
Okay.
Sherry, I'll go back to that for a second. You're going to enter, there's going to be 2 sheets, one for each team. You're going to fill out the top. You're going to write your first pitcher's name down, his league age, not his actual age. So you'll fill
Is
out
there a
his
cheat
league
sheet
age.
for that, Ken?
What's that?
Is there a cheat sheet for the is there a cheat sheet for the league age on the back
All the
of the pitch
managers
count
know if
sheet?
their kids are 13 or 12 or 10 or whatever.
Okay.
So they should know that. If you see that second, that 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth box over, you'll see slashes. So 1 inning, you're going to slash how many pitches that kid threw. And then the next inning, you reverse the slash. That's the only way we can tell when the inning ended and when they can do it. So when they get to their max number, they're done. So, okay, all yours again.
Here's just a better image of that pitch count form, and it's alternating slashes. Is that right? Slash left and slash right, alternating.
Yeah, you alternate innings,
Mhm.
not batter. So first inning, all the slashes are going to go one way. The second inning, all the slashes will go the opposite direction. And then when you get to the third inning, you go back to the same. It's just a way to break up. You know that pitcher threw 25 pitches in the first inning. He threw 20 in the second inning, and he was able to pitch 5 in the next inning. So it's the only way we can really determine how many pitches they threw in the innings. Back to you, Sherry.
Thanks, Ken. There we go. Whoops. Oh, sorry, guys. Where were we at?
Right
There we go. So we'll jump in. We'll touch on some potential injuries. Lumps and bumps are the most common, right? It's the kiddos that get hit with a ball. You know, this week I got injury reports on a kiddo with a ball to their mouth. Kiddo got hit in the chest with a ball. Some collisions at home plate, little cuts and scrapes to their ears. So all of those, you know, do a quick assessment. Make sure it's nothing emergent, something that can just be treated, you know, with an ice pack, with the first aid kit. There's Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes. Sometimes it's just a little TLC from mom or a parent or a coach. A more serious injury would be something like a head injury. So when we talk about bat safety, or we talk about, you know, player-to-player contact, whether that's collision at home plate, things like that, where there's a potential head injury, there, you want to assess that. I wanted to say patient, but assess that player for symptoms like a headache. Are they coherent? Did they get knocked out? Kind of running through that concussion protocol. I believe that all the managers have the concussion protocol in their binders, but it's also available on the CAP SoCal website as well. If you think a player has a head injury, they're exhibiting some of these symptoms of a concussion, that's an emergent, that's an ER visit. That's a call to parents. Let's get that kiddo some treatment at urgent care immediately. Sliding injuries we have seen in the past, ankle fractures, hand fractures with kids sliding into bases. So managers know this and they're going to be training their players on appropriate sliding techniques to try to prevent some of these injuries.
The benefit with our bases, Little League International mandates that we have breakaway bases. So if you see all our bases, they're 2-piece. So if a kid slides in, the base will explode off of the mounting, and that way they won't break a leg, break an ankle, wrist, whatever. So it's a safety feature that we have. So just so you all know.
Awesome. So when these injuries do occur, small or big, your responsibility as the team safety officer is to report that. And the things that you'll report, it can be something small, like Johnny took a ball to his lip and had a fat lip. Even though he didn't have to go and get medical treatment for that, we just want to document it, and we want to keep a running log of those incidents. When I get those injury reports, I follow up with the manager, see if there was anything, any other details I need to know. And I also follow up with the parents to make sure that kiddo's okay as well. Injury reports can be done for injuries to players, managers, coaches, umpires, volunteer, or a spectator. I do ask that if you're submitting an injury form, please shoot me a text or an email and let me know that you submitted it. My form doesn't have a notification system, so if one gets logged, I don't get notified until I pop in there and check on it. So I missed a couple this week, but just shoot me a text and I can follow up on that quickly. Other things that we need you guys to report would be an injury or illness outside of baseball. So if a mom calls and says, hey, Johnny broke his arm at school today and is going to miss baseball for a couple weeks, report that to us just so we can keep track of it. And I think this comes into play with some of the upper divisions and numbers, and Ken knows more of it. I think it's more about number of players available for each team.
Well, it's a little bit more than
Any
that.
confirm?
It's a little bit more than that. The problem is if somebody's hurt and they're missing games, kids are required to play X amount of innings in the field and X many times at the plate to hit. If they're not doing that and another coach wants to protest the fact, then that issue could force a team to put that kid in for an entire game or whatever the board decides. The thing is as long as it's been noted that the kid's out because due to injury, then everything's good. And the manager should know that.
Gotcha. Thanks, Ken. Other things that we need reported would be any confirmed COVID exposure or illness. If a mom or parent calls you and says someone in their household or their whole family or the player has a positive COVID test, that's something that we need to know. And I may need to report that to the county, who will then give us guidance about contact tracing and all of those things. We're asking that injury reports are sent in within 48 hours, so promptly. And the way you can access that injury report is on the website. You can also, hang on. On the next slide, I have a QR code. And the great thing that you can do is save it to your homepage or save it to one of your favorites on your phone. And that way it's easily accessible. You have it on the field. If something happens, you can quickly do it. It's just a quick form. I think there's only about 4 or 5 questions on there. And then that way you don't have to worry about doing it later in the day once you're home from your event. Oh, hang on. Just wanted to show you also from the homepage of the, sorry, Ken?
Before you get started there, do you want to talk about doctors' releases to come back to play?
Yeah,
if a child goes to a hospital or sees a doctor, we need a doctor's release before they can play again.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. If you're looking for an incident report link, you can also go to the website and click on download and scroll down to the safety documents. And you'll see there's a safety manual, which is just general baseball safety. You'll see the COVID safety plan. You'll see the incident report link, and you'll see concussion protocol down there as well. So the COVID plan, this is what everyone's been waiting to hear about. I drafted this plan based on resources from CDPH, which is California Department of Public Health, the CDC, Little League International, and the Santa Cruz Department of Public Health. This was approved by the Executive Board of Little League, and it is mandatory for everyone participating in Little League. That's players, that's volunteers, managers, umpires. As we all know, with COVID, things change sometimes quickly. And so we've left it open to potential change. If there's an update to any guidance and we change our protocols, we'll notify everyone via email, via postings to our website. So just stay tuned. If there's changes, you will receive notification. Masks. Masks are going to be required at all times for managers, coaches, volunteers, umpires, and spectators. Players are required to wear their masks whenever they're on the sideline, if they're on the bench, or if they're in a huddle. They ought to have their mask on. Now, if they're playing actively, then they don't need to wear their mask if it impedes their vision, if it's falling down, if it's bothering them. They're welcome to keep it on during play, but it's not required during play. Distancing. So we are sticking to the 6-foot distancing guideline, but there's been a lot of questions about the 3-foot guideline, which came out recently. And unfortunately, the 3-foot guideline was created only for a classroom setting. And I understand it seems silly that we're outside and we're maintaining the 6 feet when in the classroom you're going to be 3 feet. But the guidance did not change for youth sports. And so that's what we are using as our guideline. 6 feet when possible. We understand these kids are in contact when they're sliding into a plate, when they're tagging someone out. That contact is brief and not high risk. We're asking kids to not high five, fist bump, all hands in. We're eliminating those this season. Like we've already touched on, the kids are going to be in the bleachers, practices, games. No one can be in the dugout except for the on-deck batter. Joy touched on it that we may be able to fit 2 or 3 in the dugout. There was discussion last night at the board meeting about that. I need to get into those dugouts and kind of mark it out for people, but I think we can fit 2 or 3 in there. Masks. We did put some blue tape down on the bleachers to give some visual cues for these kids as to where they should be sitting to kind of keep themselves safe. We've had several scrimmages already, and I'll tell you it's a little chaotic with these kids in the bleachers. So a huge help for your managers is going to be the team parent and the safety officer who's able to help them wrangle the kids on the bleachers. And we're going to be putting some more visual markers out there, whether it's caution tape or some plastic fencing, to really distinguish the areas where we want the coaching staff and the players to be, and to keep some of our spectators out of there. I know it's challenging because we've displaced our spectators from the bleachers, and so now they're ending up, there's really no distinction between the players and the spectators now, and it just causes a little bit of chaos. So we're working on improving that. And I just ask that in your roles, you can be a big help in helping your managers maintain some organization there.
And Sherry, if can I hop in and just offer a tip?
Yeah.
We oftentimes managers or coaches will have some sort of kind of call and response to get the team's attention, something like eyes on me, and it's the call, something for the bleachers, because the kids themselves are wiggly and they all want to sit on the front row, something like on your marks, or some sort of like group chant that all of a sudden gets everybody to kind of back to the base, or back to their X on the stand, will help just create the habit throughout the season, because a lot of it is creating like a routine. So think about that as a team representative.
Yeah, great idea, Joy. Equipment, we already touched on this, but no sharing when possible. Wipe down equipment. You do have Fanny wipes in your safety packs that all the managers have. All the teams will be using their own balls for games, and the kids are going to be keeping their equipment outside of the dugout. So the fence, what I've seen is that the fence right in front of the bleachers, the kids are all hanging their equipment there, and that seems to be working for spacing. Hand hygiene. So we want to ask that all the managers and coaches Players are all hitting their hand sanitizer at the beginning of a game or practice. And as a team parent, safety officer, just encourage use of that hand sanitizer throughout the game. We're also not allowing for any food such as seeds, gum, stuff like that to be eaten, in the bleachers clumped up together. I know kids who are out there for a really long day. My son's in majors and they pull some really long days. They need snacks. So bring your own individual snacks. We won't have snack shack right now that I'm aware of, but definitely individual snacks are allowed. Just again, encourage those kids to be mindful of when they're eating and bringing all their snacks out. To maybe do that over on the side of the bleachers by themselves. The health screening tool, most of you have probably, hopefully, already used this as a team parent. Game Changer, which is the official app that we're using for Little League events, provides this as a screening tool for us. We don't have any ability to edit the questions. And so what it does is once an event is created by your manager, it lists a health screening next to each player's name. And so as a parent, before your player goes to their practice or their game, it'll prompt you through completing the health screening. You answer a series of questions and then you get this green plus sign. And your manager on the other end can see all the players who've completed their health screening. And the manager has the ability to actually manually enter a health screening status for a player who maybe forgot before getting to a game. It looks something like this. I did some screenshots. It says here that Bryson's health status is incomplete. So if you were to click on that, it prompts you through the health status questions that are here in blue. The correct answer is no to all of these. And once you've passed the health screening, it gives you a green plus sign. Exposure protocol. So if anybody on the team exhibits any kind of illness, or you get a call that someone's been ill or had a COVID exposure, please report that to myself, the safety officer. Until we have a positive COVID test, practices and games will be allowed to continue. A positive test would require notification to the county, and then we would depend on the county guidance to direct us as far as contact tracing and whether or not games continue. And finally, our spectators. Our COVID safety plan directs spectators to be in designated areas. So we're asking that spectators have no contact with players or coaches, that they're wearing their masks, they're social distancing, and they're adhering to our designated areas, which are mapped out here. The blue areas are designated for spectators. So this is the perimeter, the outside of the outfield fence on the majors field. And then the green areas are for players and coaches only. I will say that this map is going to be updated. I've been at a few scrimmages now at the majors field, and down here where the rocks are, this seems like a good spot for us to shade blue as well, because people are observing from there and it's a good spot. So we're going to update these and we'll have them posted at the fields as well. And here's an aerial view of the farm field. Ken, do you know if we're going to create an outfield area for spectators in the farm field?
We're not going to create a barrier, but we're going to allow the spectators to set up their chairs along the fence on the warning track.
Okay.
For single A and T-ball only.
Cool. Okay. I think that's it.
Sorry, Sherry, there was a request to go back to the last screen with the fields.
Farm field or majors field?
How about, and Lily, were you wanting, I think maybe she was talking about majors and majors. The blue is spectators, green is players and coaches. And where the truck is at the very bottom, we're gonna look at where the bottom, the last truck where the rock wall is gonna be potentially an area that we might that we'll consider shading blue.
Yeah, the whole triangle
Yes,
will be
yes.
eligible. And the one thing we don't have is on the majors field, the first base side down below against the equipment shed and the girls softball shed right there, that will also be available during the game. It's only colored green because before game, kids will be walking to the batter's cage. And same thing with the minors field, third base side. That fence right there, the only reason why it's blocked off is for access to the batting cages. During a game, they'll be able to sit there too or stand there against the fence.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions, Joy, that you see?
I think that's it. Anybody want to jump in or have any question for the chat or unmute yourself? Okay, good job, Sherry. Again, we're really fortunate in our league to have Sherry and other folks that are actually in the Sutter system, who are health professionals to help create these policies. It's no small task. So we want to acknowledge and recognize Sherry for her hard work in putting this all together for to have a successful season. And we need everybody here to help out. So we appreciate it. Any other questions? Sounds like no. We're always available at our email addresses.
Joy.
Yeah.
Joy, sorry, I see a question from Mandy. If there are spectators without masks, who is responsible for talking to them? So this was a topic of discussion last night at our board meeting. And ultimately, you know, what I'm trying to remind people is that it's really difficult to control adults in a large area. And really, we should try and focus on what we can control, and that's the kids. That's the managers, the volunteers, those who are right up on the field or on the bleachers. That's probably within our most control. If there's someone who is, you know, say without a mask, approaching the bleachers or approaching, you know, staff and really interfering with the game, I think the umpires would need to probably pause the game so that we could handle that. But we're not asking you as team parents or as safety officers to police the spectators who are in the designated areas. If we are going to continually send out reminders via email, we'll have signage. We're really asking that people, you know, are self-accountable and help to adhere to the protocols just to make everyone's job easier. But I hear you, Mandy. I think that may be a challenge. And I would say that you don't have to worry about that. The kiddos are our priority. And if there's anyone, you know, in particular that's out of line or whatnot, I think that's a whole nother issue to deal with.
Yeah, and there was a question last night about you know, parents coming to give their kids something, talk to the kids and talk to their player in the bleachers. And you know, obviously if a parent's come in to, you know, give their kid water or a snack or something and they're passing through and they're masked, obviously that's, you know, that's something that's not gonna be an issue. But if somebody's posting up camping chairs, coming into the area where all the players are unmasked, that is a place where we want to ensure that the players that we are responsible for the players' safety. So that is the place. But if folks are in the area of spectators, we also are going to have announcements at the beginning of the game that will remind people of, you know, we want to, I'll be damned, I'll be in my designated area, masked and distanced. and try and just encourage people to follow the safety protocols.
Yes. And Kate says we can help to remind our own team families, and that's absolutely true. One of the managers last night shared a quick email she had sent out to her families just as a reminder as to some of these guidelines that we have about masking and reminding, the grandmas and aunties and uncles that come what our guidelines are.
Absolutely. Cool. Great questions, everybody. Okay. So I think we've shared our contact information. It'd be great to have access to those pics of the fields so we can send them to families. So Sherry, we're getting them.
They're on the website. They're on the website, and we will send them out again via an email.
And I think we're getting some. Are we getting some laminated also for the field?
Yes, I have some being laminated as we speak, and we'll post them up at the field as well.
Excellent. Okay. So we've come to the end of our presentation. If there are more questions, reach out to us. Sherry, myself, Ken, everybody on the board is available to help clarify. If we don't know the answer, we'll help find it. If the answer doesn't exist, we'll help make it. So with that, I'm actually gonna, Sherry, do you mind, can you stop share?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And we've come to the portion of the presentation where we do the caption contest. So I'm gonna see if I can do this here. Okay. So we had a lot of awesome submissions. Some of the everybody who submitted for those that came late, we started the meeting off with a caption contest. Use your chat function. So we have Sherry Bowles, me trying to put together a COVID safety protocol. This base smells great. Dope. Sliding into 2021 like. Does dirt count as a face mask? Sliding into baseball season 2021. We have the Scorpion contest winner is nailed it. Little League 2021. We must be flexible. Boom cha. And when you're sliding into first and you feel something burst, I put your submissions in the wheel of names, and our winner of the $10 Yogurtland card is Callie Lyon. Yay, nailed it. Nailed it. Awesome. Well, Callie, I know where to find you. And again, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Right at 9 o'clock, Sherry.
Thanks, Joy.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Night.
Thank you, everyone.